Unbelievable, Millionaire goes undercover as a janitor in search of his long-lost mother. Incredible. Ethan Caldwell stood before the high school's worn entrance, feeling the weight of his tailored suit transform into something heavier than silk, loss. As a millionaire, he'd accomplished more than most. Yet, the void of his mother's disappearance dug deep into his chest. Years ago, she had disappeared into thin air, leaving a young boy in a chaotic world, a boy who grew into a successful man but never ceased searching for her. His heart thumped like a drum in military marching, strong, yet lacking the beat of love. Donned in an oversized janitor's uniform, Ethan caught glimpses of hope in the eyes of students rushing past, laughter cutting through the stagnant air. Here, everything was chill, real, and messy, a world far removed from the gleaming skyscrapers he dominated. He'd made this choice, deciding that to find his mother, he'd dive into a world where she'd once uplifted young minds. Consumed by determination, he polished hallways that echoed with history, his mind racing through afternoons spent with her as she painted pictures of possibility. Amongst the bustling crowd, Ethan felt an undeniable connection with Ms. Ramirez, whose laughter reminded him of his mother. She was a pillar in this struggling neighborhood, pouring her heart into every lesson, each word igniting sparks in her students' eyes. Then there was Jamie, a brilliant artist fighting to keep her family afloat while juggling 2 jobs. Every day, the young woman fought against the tides of despair, her spirit refusing to drown. Watching her in action, Ethan's heart swelled. He saw the resilience he admired in his mother, and for a moment, he allowed himself to hope, but their sanctuary was under siege. At a pivotal community meeting, the room pulsed with unease, fears of a school closure silencing voices that once rang with dreams. The stakes were high. While watching Jamie's anxious face, he felt the tightening in his chest again, the weight of worlds on her shoulders. As worry seized her heart, so too did it grip his, pulling him deeper into their struggles. He couldn't just be a bystander, a wealthy ghost in a faded uniform. This community needed saving. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Ethan stepped onto the stage at the fundraising event, emotions swirled like a storm inside him. The room hushed. A spotlight illuminated the dim space, revealing a sea of hopeful faces that reminded him of his mother's favorite moments. It struck him like lightning when an image of her emerged from the warmth of shared stories. There she was, vibrant and loved by this community, a teacher who shaped lives. Barriers that had held him back shattered under the weight of revelation. Should he reveal who he really was? A single question raced through his mind: how could he hide when these people were fighting to defend the very legacy of his mother? As tension brewed, Ethan was torn. Another revelation loomed just around the corner, but what could it mean for his purpose here? Would the truth bond the ties or cut them? The looming darkness of uncertainty draped over him like a heavy cloak, reminding him redemption comes at a cost. Ethan swallowed hard, his throat dry as he stood before the audience, the weight of the moment pressing down on him. Ms. Ramirez's eyes shone with encouragement, while Jamie watched with a mix of fear and anticipation. It was time. The silence felt alive, urging him to speak, to ignite a fire in the hearts of the people gathered. "Thank you all for being here tonight," Ethan began, his voice steadying with each word. "You've shared your stories, your struggles, and I see the strength that binds you all together." He searched the crowd's faces, catching glimpses of hope flickering in their eyes. This school is more than just walls and classes, it is a home, a second chance, a safe harbor in the storms of life. He could feel the tension ease slightly, but doubt gnawed at him. Should he lay bare his truth? It wasn't just about him anymore, it was about them. Words tumbled out, born from his passion and driven by a desire to make a difference. "I want to help," he declared, the conviction in his voice filling the hall. "This school means everything to this community, and it should not fall victim to cuts and closures. Together, we can fight for it." Applause erupted, while murmurs of encouragement swept through the crowd. They clung to his words, rallying behind the idea of hope. Jamie's eyes sparkled, wavering between admiration and skepticism. But would it last? Would they trust him enough? Ethan felt a surge of adrenaline course through him. The moment was electric. He leaned forward, his voice lowering to almost a whisper. "But I need your help. I may have resources, but your voices are the heartbeat of this fight. We need to come together. We need to plan, to organize, and we need to show the world what this school means to us." More hands clapped, some were even shouting out support. The atmosphere shifted, transformed, lighting up with determination. And in that vibrant chaos, it hit him again: he couldn't keep hiding. The truth pulsated beneath the surface, begging for release. "Who are you really?" a bold voice called out from the back, cutting through his thoughts. He turned to see a young protester, eyes filled with suspicion. Gasps swept through the space. Ethan's heart raced, eyes darting around for support but finding only intrigued faces. "I'm just someone who cares," he replied, feigning a smile, but knew it wasn't enough. He could feel the lie straining at the seams. "I believe you," Ms. Ramirez stepped in, her voice resolute. "But who you are matters. We have to be honest with each other to move forward." The room went still again, the weight of her statement hanging between them. It was as if every person present held their breath, waiting for him to finally surface. Ethan's heart hammered in his chest as reality crashed down. Could he risk the bond he was slowly building? His gaze fell upon Jamie, who stood with her arms crossed, uncertainty dancing in her eyes. He swallowed, taking a step closer to the edge of vulnerability. "My name is Ethan Caldwell," he hesitated, the sound of his own name feeling foreign in the air. "And I'm a millionaire." Silence devoured the room again, replaced by quickening breaths and whispered exchanges. He had opened a door but could feel the air chill. Would they turn away? Reject him as they had been rejected before? As the murmurs grew louder, Ethan took a deep breath, determined to press forward. "But I came here not to flaunt wealth, but to discover my mother and to give back. I want to invest in this community, to make a difference together." Somewhere in the crowd, he caught a glimpse of Ms. Ramirez's hopeful eyes, but doubt still loomed large. In that moment, he realized his journey was about to take a new turn, one filled with peril and promise. Would they accept him for who he was or who he imagined he could be? The answers hung tantalizingly close, just out of reach, whispering of the challenges and revelations yet to come. One thing was for certain: the battle was only just beginning. Ethan's heart raced as the crowd processed his revelation. Some faces twisted in confusion, while others flickered with new interest. Was it anger they felt, or mere disbelief? He could hardly tell. The air seemed thick, charged with unspoken feelings. Would they dismiss him? Would they throw him out? "Why didn't you tell us earlier?" The bold voice from the back shot out again, crackling with fervor. The question sliced through the murmurings, demanding clarity. Ethan hesitated, grappling for an answer that wouldn't seal his fate. I didn't know how," he confessed, feeling raw and exposed. "I thought my past would only create more distance between us, not bring us together." A wave of grumbling traversed the audience. Jamie stepped slightly forward, her gaze fixed hard on him. Did she believe him? Her expression was a storm held back by damning resolve. He wished he could explain everything. "Look, I know it's confusing. I'm not asking for your trust right away. I'm here to prove I can make a difference." His voice cracked slightly, but he pressed forward. "We all deserve a chance. A real chance." Ms. Ramirez took a step to the front of the stage, her commanding presence steadying the trembling atmosphere. "Let us listen." If he's willing to fight for us, perhaps we should give him a chance to show us who he is. Supporters nodded, but hesitations lingered. Ethan caught sight of a young mother clinging to her baby, her eyes searching for reassurance. I once stood where you are, he continued, gathering momentum. I came from nothing and fought to build a future. I've been blessed with wealth, yes, but that doesn't define me. What matters is how we use it. A murmuring tide began to swell as some started to cheer him on, others still held back, unsure. The young protester hadn't given up either, his face a mask of skepticism. You can't just buy our trust. I'm not trying to buy it, Ethan replied carefully. I plan to be present, to listen, to learn. I want to be here for you and grow with you. But we need to move beyond doubt. The air stirred around him, shifting as a sense of possibility edged into the tension. Jamie unfolded her arms slowly, her resistance wavering. Maybe just maybe Ethan's passionate plea was softening her heart. I'm willing to put in the work, he added, locking eyes with several members of the crowd, trying to connect with them, trying to draw them in. Let us start with a community meeting. Bring your ideas, your dreams. We can use my resources, but first, let us hear what you truly want. A faint smile danced on Ms. Ramirez's lips, and he saw sparks of intrigue flare in the crowd. A man shouted a suggestion, and then another. Voices started to evoke excitement, eager and electric, thoughts firing like fireworks against the darkness of uncertainty. Is this real? Jamie murmured, her voice barely audible to Ethan. It was laced with concern but also curiosity, a flicker of hope that struggled for life. It can be, he whispered back, the reassurance settling like warmth in his chest. But only if we trust each other enough to try. The applause crescendoed again, the crowd now animated, voices running together in optimism and hope. Ethan felt the tide turning, navigating between the fear of rejection and the fragile beginnings of acceptance. As the echoes of clapping reverberated around him, he noticed the young protester staring still, doubtful but intrigued. What if you really can't help? His eyes seemed to ask. Then I'll step back. But I can't do that yet. Not until you let me show you, Ethan offered, vulnerability wrapping around his heart. In that charged moment, he realized the stakes were higher than ever. Darkness could always rear its head, but light flickered just as bright. Would he be able to keep this flame alive? As the crowd began to disperse, languid smiles replaced the frowns, and glimmers of trust emerged from shadows. Ethan caught Jamie's gaze again, and he saw a mix of hope intertwining with lingering doubt. Tonight was just the beginning, he called out, knowing the weight of those words. The challenge still lay ahead, swift and unpredictable. Would they help him uncover deeper truths, or would they force him to face the repercussions of his past? A wave of resolve washed over him. He wouldn't give up yet. For the answers he craved were not just for him but for everyone who dared to believe in change. As he turned toward the exit, a new thought lingered. Maybe, just maybe, the journey had only just begun. What surprises awaited them next? Ethan stepped out into the cool night air, his heart still thrumming from the electric energy of the crowd. The streetlights cast a soft glow on the pavement, and he took a moment to breathe, to calm the storm inside him. He had never imagined that sharing his truth could ignite such a reaction. Hope and fear waged war within him, his mind racing with thoughts of what tomorrow would bring. He glanced back at the building where they had gathered. The night might have closed their meeting, but it felt more like a doorway had cracked open. Could he maintain this momentum? Would they follow him into the next step? All Ethan knew was that he couldn't let doubt creep back in, not now. I'm proud of you, Jamie said softly, making him jump slightly. He turned to see her standing there, illuminated by the soft light. Her brown eyes held a warmth that made him feel like maybe, just maybe, things might be all right. Do you really think they'll come? He asked, vulnerability finding its way back into his voice. There it was again, that sinking feeling of uncertainty clawing at his gut. They will if you give them a reason to, she said, her confidence shining through. People want to believe. They just need proof that change is possible. He nodded, absorbing her words, feeling some of the weight lift off his shoulders. I just hope. What? That you can fix everything? She interjected, her tone gentle but firm. You can't carry that alone. You've got to lean on them just as much as they lean on you. I never thought of it like that, he admitted, surprised by the insight. I thought I had to lead all the time. No one can lead if they're trying to do it all, Jamie replied, stepping closer. It's about building a community, not just leading a charge. They stood in silence for a moment, the distant sounds of the city swirling around them. Ethan felt the warmth of connection flickering between them. He wanted desperately to believe that this could transform into something more, a shared mission, a bond. But he sensed that Jamie was holding back. What are you thinking? He pressed gently. She hesitated, her gaze shifting. It's just, you're asking for trust. You've made some big promises already. Can you guarantee that you won't slip back into who you used to be? The question sliced through him. No, I can't. But I'm willing to fight not to. For you, for them, I can't go back to that person, Jamie. I won't. Her eyes softened, revealing a flicker of understanding. Then that essay start. She paused, her voice turning more serious. Just remember, with every promise comes a test. People will show you who they are, but you have to be prepared for the disappointments too. Ethan felt a knot form in his stomach. Could he handle that? The thought of disappointing anyone again made him ache. What if they don't believe in me? What if? Stop right there, she interrupted, her voice firm. You're stronger than your past. Don't let that define you. You have a chance to shape your future and theirs. He felt a swell of determination rise within him. You're right. I won't let doubt hold me back. Good. Jamie smiled, a spark returning to her expression. Just promise me you'll reach out when you need help. You don't have to figure this all out on your own. Deal. As they turned to leave, Ethan could feel a renewed sense of purpose guiding him forward. Their conversation lingered in the air, a promise of collaboration. They were a part of something bigger than themselves, and it felt exhilarating. The day of their first community meeting loomed on the horizon, its approach blending anticipation with anxiety. What if crowd dynamics changed? What if old fears resurfaced? The questions buzzed in his head like bees, but for now, one thing was certain. Their journey towards trust had only just begun. The real work and the real tests awaited on the other side of tomorrow. Ethan clenched his fists, determination surging through him. Would he rise to the occasion or crumble under the weight of expectations? As they stepped into the night, he knew one truth: change wasn't just a destination. It was a journey, and he was ready to embrace it or watch it slip away. What lay ahead would demand everything he had. Whatever that meant, he was willing to find out. Ethan woke up the next morning to golden rays peeking through his window. It felt like a new day, a fresh start. He stretched a bit, the anticipation of the community meeting tightening his chest. Deep down, he could almost feel the pulse of change thrumming in the air around him. After a quick shower, he dressed with purpose, choosing a simple blue shirt that made him feel approachable. He wanted to show everyone that he was just like them, a man with flaws, fears, and a determination to rise above. He met Jamie at their usual cafe. She was already there, her fingers wrapped around a steaming mug, a soft smile lighting up her face when she saw him. As he slid into the chair opposite her, he took a deep breath, drawing in the comforting aroma of coffee. Ready for today? She asked, her eyes drilling into his, reading his every emotion. Ready as I'll ever be, he replied, trying to sound confident, but the tremor in his voice told another story. Jamie reached across the table, her hand covering his. You've got this, Ethan. Just take it one moment at a time. Remember, it's about them, not just you. Right, he nodded, but the doubt was still nestled in the back of his mind. whispering worries about how many people would actually show up. What if they judged him? What if he stumbled over his words? As they made their way to the community center, the streets began to buzz with life. Families walking by, kids laughing, the familiar murmur of neighbors gathering for the day. It felt warm out, like the universe was giving him a subtle boost, urging him on. The building loomed ahead, its entrance framed by posters announcing the meeting, bright colors and bold letters. But every step felt heavy, his stomach in knots. What if he disappointed them? When they arrived, Ethan's heart raced as he entered the room. Chairs were set up in a circular fashion, and the smell of fresh paint lingered in the air, mingling with notes of nervous energy. People began to filter in, first a couple of familiar faces, then more and more. Each warm smile and wave felt like a thread woven into the fabric of their collective hope. They were showing up. His heart lifted, each new arrival registering like a soft cheer in his chest. With Jamie beside him, they set up the space, arranging chairs and preparing a projector for his presentation. As the crowd thickened, an inner voice began to call out. This was his chance not just to share his visions but to create connections. When it was time, Ethan stood before them, his palms sweaty but resolved. "Thank you all for coming," he started, his voice shaky but steadying with each word. "I'm here because I believe in our community. I believe in our power to uplift one another." There were murmurs of encouragement from the crowd, and he could feel the warmth radiating towards him. One woman nodded knowingly, her expression carved with the grit of personal stories, while a young man leaned forward, eager to hear more. As Ethan shared his vision, he watched faces light up, hope blooming where there had been doubt. They were hanging on to his every word, and with every point he made, the energy in the room seemed to swell. It was as if a secret language of belief passed between them, igniting something powerful. Halfway through, he took a moment to pause, to let them digest what he had shared. "I can't promise everything will be easy," he continued, "but I can promise that if we come together, we can make a difference. We don't have to walk this path alone." A round of applause broke out like a wave of approval, electrifying the air around them. Ethan felt vulnerable yet alive, his spirit soaring with the realization that they were all in this together. But then he saw a familiar face in the back. Ethan's breath caught. It was Caleb, his old friend, the one he hadn't seen since he spiraled into darkness. Would they be ready to forgive him, to believe in the man he was striving to become? As the meeting continued with questions and ideas flowing, Ethan's heart pounded with unpredictability. He was not just fighting for himself anymore, he was fighting for them, for a future they could build together. Truly, it was just the beginning, and this moment felt like the rise before the plunge. The real test was coming. Would his past truly stay buried if Caleb confronted him? The lingering question pulsed in the back of his mind, a reminder that every journey is intertwined with the shadows of yesterday. And with Caleb watching from the sidelines, one burning thought blazed in Ethan's mind. Would he rise or fall when faced with reconciliation? The applause faded, but the energy in the room remained electric. Ethan took a shaky breath, eyes darting towards Caleb. His old friend stood at the back, arms crossed, a stormy expression chilling the warmth that had filled the space. What were Caleb's thoughts? Doubt? Anger? Or something deeper that had yet to surface? Ethan felt suddenly small on the makeshift podium, the words caught in his throat as he grasped for something to anchor him. He could sense Jamie's gaze, full of encouragement, urging him to push through. "Let us hear your ideas." A voice called out from the crowd, breaking the moment. It was a familiar face, one of the mothers from the school board. The room turned, all eyes now on Ethan, waiting expectantly. He straightened up, focusing on the sound of voices blending into a symphony of hope. "Right. So, the first step we need to consider is revitalizing our local park. A place for families, a space to gather." As he spoke, he watched faces light up, engaged as thoughts flowed freely. Ideas poured in about community gardens, children's programs, art installations. If anything, the meeting felt like a spark igniting flames of creativity and connection, but in the corner of his eye, Caleb remained. Ethan stole a sidelong glance. The tension coiled tight in his chest like a spring. He couldn't focus while Caleb lingered there, part of him hoping for the friend he once knew to return. The discussion carried on, and for a moment, Ethan lost himself in the enthusiasm of the crowd, feeding off their excitement like a moth drawn to a flame. It felt good to think they were dreaming together. Yet Caleb's presence still loomed, twisted emotions knitting his brow into a tight crease. Finally, when the energy in the room ebbed, Ethan cleared his throat, a firm decision bubbling up inside him. "I'd love to hear from everyone, even the quieter voices," he said, seeking the stillness around Caleb. "We're here to create something together. And that means all of you matter, too." The room seemed to hold its breath. After a moment, Caleb took a slow step forward, and the crowd parted slightly, a ripple moving through them. Ethan's heart raced, every beat loudly echoing in his ears. "Ethan," Caleb started, voice rough and heavy, like it had been weighted down by years of silence. "You've changed, but what about the things left unsaid between us?" The room tightened, shifting into a space thick with emotions. Ethan grasped for the right words. "Caleb, I'm not here," he cut in, eyes searching the crowd for understanding. "I need to know why you went away. All those years, why did you leave everything behind?" Ethan's mind raced. Should he tell everyone? It felt sacred, private, a question that held the weight of their shared past. But Caleb was right, they needed this, needed to talk it out. "Okay," Ethan's voice wavered but held resolute. "Can we step outside? I'll answer anything you ask. But I don't want to take away from what's happening here. You all deserve this moment." He gestured to the crowd, and a collective understanding rippled through the audience. Caleb nodded slowly, the tension still palpable. As Ethan stepped down from the podium, Jamie gave him a reassuring smile, a soft squeeze of his hand as they walked towards Caleb. "Take a deep breath," Jamie whispered, her eyes full of warmth. And he did. The world outside felt vast and open, but his heart pulsed with uncertainty. The moment hung in the air, a confrontation that could lead to healing or heartbreak. How could he reconcile the man he was with the boy who had run away? With Caleb waiting just a few steps ahead, Ethan prepared for the world to shift, knowing their words would change everything. Could he find redemption on the path to forgiveness? Would the shadows of their past still linger, or would they finally step into the light? Only time would tell as they stepped out into the warm afternoon sun, shadows dancing behind them. Ethan stepped into the sunlight, feeling the warmth wash over him like a comforting blanket. Outside, the sounds of the meeting faded, replaced by the distant chatter of children playing, birds chirping, and the rustle of leaves in the gentle breeze. It was a stark contrast to the tension swirling in his chest. Caleb stood a few feet away, his eyes hard and focused, a storm brewing behind them. Ethan could feel the weight of years pressing down on them, unspoken words hanging in the air like thick fog. The community buzzed just beyond their small circle, talk of parks and gardens fading into background noise. "Why did you leave?" Caleb's question broke through the silence, raw and accusatory. Just like that, poof. You vanished. Did it mean nothing to you? Our friendship? "It wasn't like that," Ethan replied, trying to keep his voice steady. "You have to understand that it wasn't just about leaving. I was drowning, Caleb. I didn't know how to swim." Caleb's expression wavered for a moment, a flicker of confusion briefly tugging at his features. "So you just left everything? You just left me?" Ethan took a deep breath, grounding himself. "I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought it was for the best. But I realize now it was just fear. Fear of disappointing people, fear of failing. I hurt you. I hurt myself." Caleb ran a hand through his hair, wrestling with the swirling emotions. "You don't get it. You disappeared at the time when I needed you the most. I was struggling too, and you just vanished. I had to figure it all out on my own." The bitterness in Caleb's voice bit deep, and Ethan felt heat rise in his cheeks. The depth of their shared pain loomed larger than Ethan had anticipated. "I thought distancing myself would help you heal. I thought my absence would take the burden off your shoulders." Caleb stepped closer, the hurt radiating from him like heat off asphalt. "And how'd that work out for you? Or for me? I'm still here, Ethan. Just like your ghost, lingering around, and what have you done? You've changed your whole life, moved on, and you think it was better this way?" Each word hit Ethan like a punch. He felt the guilt rolling in waves, crashing over him. "I know I can't change the past," he said softly, catching Caleb's gaze. "But I want to make it right. I want you to see my heart is in this. I want to be back in your life if you'll let me." There was a charged silence between them. Caleb's eyes locked onto Ethan's, searching for sincerity. Memories flooded Ethan's mind, the laughter they shared, late-night talks, the bond that once felt unbreakable. It was all still there, yet it felt so distant. Caleb's shoulders sagged slightly, the hardness beginning to crumble. "You think after all this time it'll just fix itself? You just think we can bridge these years just like that?" "No," Ethan said, desperation creeping into his voice. "But I'm hoping we could start over. I want to rebuild. I want to be honest with you, and I owe it to you. I owe it to both of us." Caleb looked away, contemplating, and Ethan felt his heart race. This was a pivotal moment. The whole community behind them was buzzing, creating beautiful plans, while they hung in the balance. "Do you really think it's that easy?" Caleb finally asked, a glimmer of vulnerability breaking through. "It won't be easy, but I know we can try." Caleb's resolve wavered for the first time. Ethan could see it. If they took one step forward, everything could change. "Let us just take it one step at a time," Caleb said slowly. As they stood there, feeling the weight of the past, a whisper of hope flickered between them. But just as Ethan felt like they could finally move forward, Caleb's phone buzzed in his pocket. "It's my mom," he mumbled, glancing at the screen, anxiety flashing across his features. I need to take this." A wave of uncertainty crashed back over Ethan as Caleb stepped away, the moment hanging in the air like unfinished business. What if this was just another chance slipping through his fingers? Could this be the moment that ties them back together, or would another obstacle sever the fragile thread they were trying to weave? As Caleb took the call, Ethan stood alone in the sunlight, wondering what would come next. Ethan's pulse quickened as he watched Caleb move a few steps away, the distance stretching between them like an endless chasm. He shifted, shoving his hands deep into his pockets, anxiety twisting in his gut. A lot hung on this moment. A chance to mend, or maybe another fracture. That he forced himself to focus on the sound surrounding him, the laughter of children playing tag in the park, a dog barking as it chased after a ball, and the rustle of leaves that seemed to harmonize with the rhythm of his heart. Each sound was a reminder that life continued around him, spinning freely while he remained anchored in this heavy silence. Caleb's expression as he answered the call was obscured by his back. Ethan couldn't hear what was being said, but he could see the lines on his shoulders tighten. It was unsettling the way a single phone call could sweep away everything they'd just begun to rebuild. As seconds ticked by, Ethan felt a familiar loneliness creep back in. He couldn't shake the image of Caleb, the boy he grew up with, the one who stood by him through thick and thin, now seeming a world away. It was painful to witness the shadows that had crept into Caleb's heart, shadows Ethan knew he had helped cast by leaving. Caleb turned slightly, but his focus remained on the phone, the voice on the other end pulling him further from Ethan. Whatever was being said, it was tearing at Caleb's resolve. Could it be news of another struggle, another burden he had to carry alone? The tightness in Ethan's chest threatened to spill over into desperation. "Caleb," he called softly, needing to reach out, needing to pull him back before it was too late. Caleb's gaze flicked to him, a fleeting moment of recognition softening the tension in his expression. But just as quickly, the weight of whatever news he was receiving shoved that softness away. "Yeah, Mom, I know." A sigh escaped his lips, heavy and resigned. "I'll take care of it." Ethan wished he could reach out, offer something, anything to lighten the load. Just then, Caleb finished the call and slipped the phone back into his pocket. The moment was there, teetering at the edge of possibility, and Ethan felt a flicker of hope reignite within him. "Is everything okay?" Ethan asked, trying to mask the anxious tremor in his voice. Caleb rubbed the back of his neck, a gesture Ethan recognized from years back when Caleb was overwhelmed. It's just my mom. Things aren't great. She's worried about the bills again, and," he sighed, frustration marring his features, "I'm trying to figure it out, but it's so much." As Caleb spoke, Ethan sensed the wall from earlier returning, the barriers rising between them. Ethan stepped forward, his heart racing. "You don't have to face it alone. I want to help. I know I have no right to ask after what I did, but Caleb raised a hand, cutting him off. "I don't think you understand. Nothing can change overnight. My world is still upside down." "Then let me be part of fixing it," Ethan urged, his voice cracking with emotion. "Life shouldn't be something you have to carry alone, not anymore." For a beat, they stood there, eyes locked, the world swirling around them. Caleb's expression flickered between anger and longing, a storm brewing beneath the surface. Suddenly, Caleb brushed his hand across his face, and for a moment, Ethan thought he might cry. "This whole thing, it's a mess, Ethan. You left, and now you want to come back and fix everything. Why should I believe that it'll really be different?" "I want you to believe in us," Ethan replied, heart pounding. "Let us figure this out together, please." A vulnerable silence enveloped them, but the weight of Caleb's past loomed like a dark cloud. Just when Ethan thought Caleb might break, he turned abruptly, casting one last glance over his shoulder. "I need time, Ethan. Time to sort through it all. Time to see if I can trust you again." "I'll wait," Ethan said, voice barely above a whisper. Hope mixed with fear in equal measure. As Caleb walked away, the ache of uncertainty settled in again. Time, the most precious and painful gift of all. What if, after all this time, waiting would mean losing him once more? A new wave of worry washed over Ethan. Could he truly hold on to hope, knowing it could slip away when he least expected it? And as he stood lost in thought, the laughter of children mingling with the evening breeze, a realization hit him hard: time was moving forward, and in a way, so was he. But could that movement be enough? He took a deep breath, looking for Caleb amongst the crowd. Would their paths cross again, or was this just another chapter of goodbyes? A question lingered in the air, heavy with the possibilities of what could come next. Ethan stood rooted in place, the world buzzing around him, yet he felt impossibly distant from it all. The park was shifting into dusk, children's laughter fading into an echoing memory. He could still see Caleb's retreating figure, framed against the lightning sky, and it hurt to lose sight of him. With a deep breath, Ethan forced himself to keep moving. He walked along the path, his thoughts racing as shadows stretched across the ground. Each step brought with it an array of emotions: fear, hope, regret, making the journey feel heavier. He needed to sort through his feelings as much as he needed to sort through what had happened with Caleb. Nobody warned him how complicated it could be to return after leaving someone behind. It was easy to romanticize fixing things from afar, but standing there at the park had unleashed a whirlwind of feelings that were harder to untangle than he imagined. The laughter, joy, and chaos around him only reminded him of the cracks he had to mend. It felt like running through the fog, everything familiar yet obscured. He reached a bench and plopped down, trying to gather his thoughts. He pulled out his phone, staring at the screen, but the words he wanted to type felt inadequate. He wanted to tell Caleb he understood, that he wanted to listen, to carry some of that weight. Could he reach out again and risk Caleb's frustration? Suddenly, his phone buzzed. It was a text from Max, his old friend and a bridge to the life he had left behind. "Hey! You back in town? We should catch up." Ethan felt a tinge of guilt as he thought about whether catching up with Max involved discussing Caleb or even the hurt he had caused. He considered ignoring the text. But he needed support. He needed someone who understood his history, someone who could offer perspective. Before he could fully process it, his thumbs were flying across the screen. "Yeah, just got back. Let's meet up if you're free." After sending the message, Ethan let out a shaky breath, feeling the tension knotting in his stomach ease just a bit. Even the smallest steps felt monumental when everything around him seemed uncertain. It was a start. Moments passed, and just when he thought he might sit alone forever, his phone chimed again. "How about the coffee shop on Oak? In an hour?" Ethan nodded to himself, even though no one was watching. He needed something warm, a connection that was tangible, something that didn't hinge on Caleb and the weight of regret. He headed towards Oak Street, his feet finding the familiar rhythm that matched the beat of his heart, a little less chaotic, a little more hopeful. It wasn't exactly a clean slate, but he needed to pull himself together. Maybe he just needed a little space to breathe, a little time to find the right words. When he arrived at the coffee shop, the familiar scent of roasted beans enveloped him, grounding and comforting. He spotted Max at a small table by the window, a broad smile spreading across his face as he waved. Ethan's heart lifted, and the corners of his mouth turned up in response. "Ethan. You look like you've seen a ghost," Max exclaimed, laughter spilling into the air like sunshine, momentarily dispelling the shadows. "Funny, I feel like one," Ethan replied, settling into the seat opposite him. Max leaned in, his tone shifting serious. "What's going on with you, man? You disappeared. Was it something I said?" Ethan hesitated, weighing how much to share. He could feel the weight of his heart in his throat. How much could he say about Caleb? How could he explain the many layers of their relationship? "I am trying to reconnect with someone," he finally admitted, the words tasting bittersweet. "But it's complicated. I mess things up." Max studied him, clearly concerned. "Everyone makes mistakes, Ethan. You want to talk about it?" Ethan glanced around, letting the noise of the cafe fill the space. He nodded slowly. Maybe this was what he needed, the chance to let it out, unfiltered and real. Maybe he didn't have to figure it all out alone. As they talked, Ethan began to feel like a weight was lifting. Piece by piece. But the image of Caleb would not leave him, lingering like a question unanswered. Would Caleb let him back in? In that moment of honesty, Ethan realized there was still so much he didn't know. And while he was beginning to find his footing again, it was clear that the true challenge remained just ahead, waiting for him to meet it. Would he dare take that leap? Would Caleb be able to forgive? Ethan felt a chill run through him. Somewhere, in the coffee-scented air, a decision awaited. He had to be ready to step forward, whether the path led back to Caleb or not. What would he uncover next? Time flowed like a gentle river, bringing the day of the community meeting, the pivotal moment, closer. Ethan could hardly contain the churn of excitement and dread within him. Each day felt like an unwritten chapter, and he stood ready to pen it, yet the weight of his past threatened to smother his hope. As he prepared for the gathering, he recalled Jamie's encouragement, and her unwavering belief in what they could accomplish together. Seeing the strength in her eyes reignited a spark within him, and he couldn't wait to share this renewed feeling with the community he had grown attached to. The community center was alive with conversations when Ethan and Jamie arrived. Familiar faces turned in greeting, smiles breaking through the tension that had hung in the air like a stubborn fog. The buzz of anticipation and determination made the atmosphere electric, and Ethan's heart raced as he faced them. The meeting commenced, and the air filled with ideas, hopes, and dreams. Voices intermingled like a rich symphony of collaboration. People spoke passionately about new projects, gardens, art installations, youth programs, and Ethan felt the vibrant energy pulse through the room. They were building something beautiful together, and he was right in the center of it all. But just as his hopes began to soar, the door swung open and in stepped Caleb, his presence a storm front. Ethan's breath hitched, the ambiguity of their relationship hung between them like a veil of uncertainty. Caleb moved toward the back, apprehension etched on his face. As words flowed like water from the crowd, Ethan felt pulled to close the distance. Inviting Caleb into this moment felt crucial, an act of reconciliation that could stitch wounds once raw and gaping. "Everyone!" Ethan called out, his voice booming over the chatter. "I'd like to invite my friend Caleb to join us." Caleb's brow furrowed, but slowly, he approached, his presence commanding attention. "Thank you for being here, Caleb," Ethan said, smoothing over his nerves as he locked eyes with him, desperate for understanding. "We're all working towards something valuable, but I know my past weighs heavily on us." The crowd seemed to hold its breath, their eyes darting between the two men. Ethan could feel the tremor of vulnerability crackle in the air as he stood on the precipice of honesty. "I hurt you by leaving," Ethan continued, the truth spilling out like an unreturned promise. "And I was selfish. I thought I could handle it all on my own, but I was wrong. I know I can't erase what I did, but I'm here now because I want to be a part of this community, your community, and I want to rebuild what we had." He felt warmth in the room, glances of empathy exchanged between neighbors. Jamie gave him a reassuring smile, her silent support following him as he steadied his breath. Caleb looked contemplative, a storm brewing in his expression. But hurt still lingered in his eyes. "You walked away, Ethan," he replied, his voice low but firm. "That's not something easy to forget. It takes more than words to fix everything. Trust is built on actions." "I know," Ethan said, the depth of Caleb's words hitting him like a jolt. "And if you'll let me, I'm here to prove that I can earn it back. I'm committed to being part of this community, and part of your life, if you'll allow me that chance." Silence lingered, and Ethan felt the weight of every eye staring expectantly at Caleb. He was a man standing on the edge of decisions, choices that would affect them all, but then, Caleb broke the tension. "I'll consider it," he said finally, his voice tinged with hesitance yet softened by a glimmer of hope. "But it won't happen overnight. You need to show me you mean it, not just to the community but to yourself as well." A rumble of approval emerged from the crowd, and a wave of relief swept over Ethan. It was just a beginning, a commitment not defined by what wasn't there, but what could still flourish. The meeting culminated in enthusiastic planning. Conversations hummed, laughter bubbled, and the community found their voices anew. Bonds formed in shared purpose, united under a growing belief in change. Later, as the gathering started to dwindle, Ethan turned to Caleb, who stood nearby, those familiar walls still cautious but maybe a bit more porous. "Thank you for giving me a chance," Ethan said softly. Caleb simply nodded, the storm inside him seemingly calming. It felt fragile but real, like a new thread weaving itself into a relatable tapestry. The night melted around them as conversations transitioned into soft goodbyes. As shadows danced beneath the street lamps, Ethan caught Jamie's eye. She approached, a gentle beam of warmth reflecting the trust they had built. "You did it," she said, her heart for him clear in her eyes. "You're on your way." Ethan smiled back, feeling the weight of countless uncertainties lift a fraction more. He was beginning to understand the heart of community. He turned to the horizon, feeling engulfed by optimism despite the challenges lying ahead. Each step forward would be an anchor, pushing him closer to creating a future he yearned for, not just for himself or the community but for everyone who dared to believe in possibilities. And just like that, he stepped into the night, ready to face whatever life brought next, with open arms full of hope. Transformation was indeed a journey well worth taking. Now's your chance. You need to subscribe now to this channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and let everyone see this powerful transformation. Comment below with your thoughts and feelings about this ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this journey of redemption. Act now. True fans understand the importance of supporting the channel like this.